Students at the University of California, Berkeley held a day of protest on Friday to demand the creation of additional safe spaces for transgender and non-white students. And during the protest, they created a human chain to prevent white students from getting to class. Some Asian students were also blocked from getting to class, but Hispanic, Latino, Black students were allowed through and were allowed to go to class. And I'm going to play a little bit of video where you can actually hear protesters shouting, "Go around" to white students who try to get through this blockade. And students of color are greeted with "let him through, let her through, let them through." We have video. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, what's your... Do you not want to be recorded?
Kind of not in this personal...
Okay, yeah. No.
They did not give you the consent to delete that video.
Okay.
Delete it right now.
All right, cool, thank you.
One protester actually complained that there were too many white students in classrooms, saying, quote, "When you walk into a class, what's the majority in there?" This is problematic to me, not only because it doesn't account for racial differences in the population at large, not only does it not consider that blaming individual white students who are already at the school solves absolutely nothing, but it's problematic to me because according to UC Berkeley's own website, only 1 in 4 students in the incoming 2015 freshman class was actually white, which makes this entire charade particularly misguided. Many white and Asian students forced to actually go through like the woods, essentially. It was a dirt path through brush in order to make it to class while the protesters were shouting "go around." And it's not just against white people. It's against white and Asian students, according to that article. And that sort of changes the dynamic. I got one email from someone saying, "David, the issue is not necessarily just race and minorities versus non-minorities, because Asians are minorities, but Asians maybe are seen as more successful in American society. So maybe there's a different feeling there, but we're also going to block the Asians from getting through." It really makes no sense. And we could talk a lot about the so-called ideal immigrant that many Asian communities represent in the US. But can you imagine, Pat, if the students blocked from getting to class actually filed a lawsuit on the basis of having their Title VI rights violated? Because if you look at the 1964 Civil Rights Act, Title VI prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and other characteristics at any program that receives any federal financial assistance, like, for example, UC Berkeley does. That could actually happen here.
Yeah, and there are some people who are of the opinion that reverse racism just doesn't exist. And of course, it's a much less prevalent issue, but it's out there.
I just call it racism. I mean, either you're discriminating on the basis of race or you're not. And this idea of reverse racism is so bogus to me.
And when you look at gender equality too, of course, some issues negatively affect men, but the bulk of it negatively affects women.
Martin Luther King and so many others who fought for equality would see this, would be my guess, and they would say, well, hold on a second. What exactly are you doing by blocking white students? Are you showing them what it was like at some prior point? Because now non-white students aren't blocked from going to class. So what is it exactly that you're trying to do? Are you trying to wake people up to what was the experience of Black students before the 1964 Civil Rights Act? Because I just don't know. I always try to be as pragmatic as possible with these issues. And I don't know what blocking white students is going to teach them today in terms of what the issues are that are trying to be brought to light. And let me remind you also that there is a demand being made here for the creation of safe spaces segregated by race where white people are not allowed, which we've covered. What would be the punishment if white students formed a chain to block non-white students from getting to class? What would be the reaction if white students created a no brown people allowed safe space on campus? It would rightly be very negative. And some will hear me say this and they'll say, well, the difference, David, is that the white students aren't oppressed, but the other students are. I'll remind you that only 1 out of 4 students in the incoming UC Berkeley 2015 freshman class was white. I don't get this, Pat. I don't know what they're hoping to achieve by inconveniencing realistically individuals that are already overworked, stressed out, and debt-ridden. I don't see the win.